I'm not one to mythologize the past.
No, that's never been something you do. It's more mythologizing the future.
Yeah, or mythologizing Jonathan Holmes.
Right, in the future.
In the future. I'm not one to say things were better in the good old days.
They weren't.
Because it's less that things were better and more that things are just getting worse. And I do think that's an important distinction.
Well, some of it is it's getting worse, and some of it is we were dumber.
Some of it was absolutely that. We were dumber, we were more ignorant. You know, there's certainly areas where I don't want to say, oh, things were a lot fairer or nicer back then. It's like, no, there was a lot less stuff reported on and known about by people who weren't going through shit.
So stuff got simultaneously better and worse, meaning that it's bad in different ways now.
Yeah. However, I do believe there's some areas where we can say that there's stuff that we can fairly say we miss from the old days.
Sure.
And I thought this yesterday. I really thought to myself, I miss the days where I could buy a video game and have a reasonable expectation that it wasn't published in association with war crimes. I miss those halcyon days where, like, a legal occupation was not part and parcel of what I was playing.
I did appreciate the days where I didn't have to check, like, okay, if I go 3 or 4 subsidiaries up, do we get to do we get to bombing countries?
Did the money that was used to make this game also go to killing foreign journalists? These are questions we have to ask now.
And you know what? The thing that sucks about now is that there's not just one company you have to remember to think about.
Oh God, no.
Like, I could almost handle it when there was only one company that I had to keep in mind might have spent money on, you know, making games, but also the deaths of foreign journalists. But there's more than one on that list now.
It's a huge list.
On the plus side, if Microsoft has its fucking way, there will only be one company to worry about. Fucking hell, everyone. Yeah. Fucking hell. You know what? You know what, right? I woke up this morning, right? And you know what? Right? I managed to not fund a genocide. That's just something I did this morning. I thought to myself, you know what? I could fund a genocide, or
I could not.
I could just have a cup of tea and a sit down.
I mean, indirectly, okay, I don't even want to get into it. It's too depressing. Welcome to Podquisition. I
could directly fund a genocide.
Okay, yes, there we go.
Or I could not. Or I could have a cup of tea.
That's right.
Not worry too much about where I bought the tea bags from. God's sake.
Hey, video games can still be cool, though. I insist there's still cool ones out there.
There are still some cool ones out there.
I insist by the fact that I played too many video games this week, and all of them, to the best of my knowledge, did not directly fund genocide, which is pretty good. There's certainly a number of options out there if you want to play video games that, to my knowledge, don't fund genocide.
Well, tell us about one.
Where do I even start? Oh yeah, let's start with this. So, I this past weekend played through and completed in 1, maybe 2 sittings, Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3.
Oh, you talked about the demo of this a while back.
Yeah, so this is the new one from Xavier Nelson, who is behind El Paso Elsewhere, Clickholding, that one that I always forget the name of about murdering people in your basement to stave off the end of the world. Makes fascinating, curious, very mechanically different little games. And the new one, which is out now, is a Match 3 Metroidvania themed like a Resident Evil game that is a critique of the last few years of the games industry and the difficulty of creating and publishing art in a medium that has become far too beholden to swaying fan perception and constant studio closures. Mechanically, it is very, like, Puzzle Quest-y, moment to moment. A lot of your encounters are do match 3 content. Depending on what colour of gems or what kind of symbols you match, they go into a pool which can be spent on different mechanical abilities. Sometimes these are attacks and healing spells like you would see in something like Puzzle Quest. Other times they are very different kinds of mechanics, like maybe you're doing a stealth mission and you're trying to get the correct combination of gems to sneak closer and closer to an enemy so that you can eventually do a stealth takedown on them before you notice, or you're doing like a I'm hacking the mainframe but someone's hacking back on the other side minigame, and you're trying to match 3 to get the hacking meter to go up, but there is opposing match 3 happening to make it go back down, and you're trying to like outpace the curve of the hacking minigame. Really interesting creative ways to theme and flavour the match 3 content. And the sort of Metroidvania element of it is you are making dialogue choices as you explore this creepy redneck dinosaur mansion, and the choices you make will sometimes build you towards certain character traits. A really easy couple of early game examples are, if you keep clicking options that are like trying to look around for additional information, you might get the keen eyes ability, and then from then on, you'll start seeing extra dialogue options pop up because you have done choices that have suggested you're an observant character. You might now notice additional paths to go down, or you kept clicking really fucking dumbass decisions, and now you are like, you've gotten a trait that essentially means you're a confident idiot, and something that should scare you away and be a clear sign not to engage somewhere, you might just run through screaming now, because it's like, you've gotten enough unearned confidence to do that. And these narrative traits build up and allow you to sort of explore new routes through this. I think I can talk about like some of the early plot stuff, because like it's no big secret. You are playing as the protagonist of essentially a Resident Evil game, who has been made aware that his existence exists within a buggy, incomplete dev build demo of a game that never got completed and is sat on a hard drive somewhere. And his mission is he's decided he wants to go fix all the bugs that exist in this game and find a way to get it out to the people so that people can play the game, and it's not just this incomplete thing that no one's getting to engage with. Narratively, it does some really interesting stuff with exploring how an in-development, unfinished game is never really just one thing. It is a legacy of things that it was, that were built over, that were changed, that were revised through the creative process, of mechanics that were added and then never fully integrated, or that never really went anywhere, of creative work that, before a game is fully published, hasn't yet been sort of sanded off into a cohesive experience. And that exploration of, like, in-development games and where it later goes with explorations of the business of producing and publishing and releasing games feels very, very timely to the last couple of years in particular. On its surface, it is just a silly, well-written, amusing match 3 game, kind of poking fun at the genre tropes of Resident Evil games. The more you dig into it, I was really quite emotionally impacted by where this game ended up going. It is a wonderful piece of art, and maybe my favourite thing this creator and this team have put together. I really can't recommend it highly enough. I am a big fan of Creepy Redneck Dinosaur Mansion 3.
I'm gonna check it out. I have liked the games. I've reviewed both El Paso Elsewhere and the Clickin' Creepy Horseman game.
Clickolden, yeah.
I've done reviews of both of those. Been very complimentary. El Paso was kind of a meaningful game to me as well. Like some of its themes really sort of spoke to me. So yeah, I'm very fond of Nelson's work, and I keep forgetting to check this one out, which you'd think I wouldn't, considering the name alone really sticks with you. I am going to have to make sure I grab the Steam Deck after we record and get that downloaded, because, yeah, could do with that. I won't be playing a certain fucking game that I had fucking set to download, so I'll do that instead.
What about you, Conrad? You been playing much this week?
I have played one game, really, but it is... I do really like it. It's called Prince of Prussia.
Okay.
It's a Pico 8 game. One of those, like, really minimalist, low resolution, like, 2-button games. These are freely made, freely available games. Often they run in browser. You can find a lot of them on itch, but there's a software thing that puts them all together, and there may even be hardware solutions out there, but they're just like really, really tiny games that has the system has the capability to provides all the dev tools with it, so you can make your own games, and it has a lot of constraints. And I'm really into forced constraints in game design these days, especially after UFO 50 and how good that was. So I started exploring more of these Pico 8 games and things like that. And Adam Saltzman, who you may remember as the developer of Cannibalt back in the day.
Yeah, I loved that game back in the day.
Yeah. This is Prince of Prussia. It sounds like Prince of Persia because gameplay-wise, that's what it is. But the setting is different. You're killing Nazis. It's a super minimalist version of Prince of Persia. It starts exactly the same way the original game does, where you have a room that teaches you the base mechanics and equips you with a weapon. Of course, this being Prussia, not Persia, after you pick up your shiv and stab your first Nazi, you opt not to pick up their gun because this is personal. It's light, it's quick, it does all of the things Prince of Persia does. You have your spike floors. Now, there's none of the trap, pressure plate stuff. It's not mean about it. It shows you everything that you're going to contend with, but it does do it in stages because of the screen size and the resolution of the character sprites. You could see a lot more of the map conceivably, and so it sort of fog of wars it from you. There is an area in which you can see and know what's going on in that area, and then there is unexplored space and areas of the map that you've been to already but are outside of your field of view will be visible, but you won't get all of the details, which is a good approach to that sort of thing. You just scale these simple platform stages. You can go up and down ledges. You can jump a specific distance. That's pretty much it. You can fall off ledges from up to a specific height. There is fall damage. You can die from that. You can die from landing on spikes from any height. You can die from being in the line of sight of a Nazi. You can die by jumping onto a Nazi wrong. That's the basics.
Is there a wrong way to jump on a Nazi?
Apparently, if you get too far ahead of them when you jump on the Nazi. The combat, such as it is a little unclear at the start, because you get your weapon, and if you've played Prince of Persia and you're drawing on that experience to play this, you know that there's sword combat, and you're going to have to attack enemies. And here that's not the case, because you're murdering Nazis. That's what you're doing here. And the impulse is to press the button that you would think would be an attack button, but that is just the jump button. There's only one button to this game, and the directional pad. So you'll get right behind your first Nazi and jump, and you'll jump ahead of them and die. You have to just walk into the Nazis from behind, and you stab them. Of course, it's so simple. Now, you can jump from 2 spaces away and kill that Nazi, and you can also drop from a platform above onto a Nazi, if you land directly on them, then dead Nazi. But there's some nuance in figuring out. Thankfully, none of the stages are particularly long or punishing, in part because of the constraints of the game. But every stage that you're in, it's a environmental puzzle where you need to figure out how to get to a switch and get to an exit, and ideally kill all of the Nazis in between. It's possible to accidentally go out the exit door because you don't have to do any interaction to do so. As soon as you cross across the open door, you'll go through it, and you might miss a Nazi. I've had to restart my game because I missed a Nazi. I'm not missing a Nazi. It has fun little sound effects to it. It's just very charming and simple and free. It's on Adam Saltzman's itch.io page, and it's good. It's a fun little time, and I'm glad I played it. Yeah, that's it. Prince of Prussia.
Nice. Steph, you've not played a lot this week, have you?
Nothing new. Unless it was, certain games I'd been playing while ADHD had made me forget about, certain boycotts because of certain, what's the best way to put it? War crimes! War crimes!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Microsoft. Well, I was gonna say I've played nothing new. I just want to reiterate that I fucking love 2 Point Museum. That's where I have been. I've just been honing my craft on there. I went into the sandbox mode and have done several sandbox museums. They always start simple. I'm just going to make an aquarium, and then it's oops, all dinosaur bones. After about 2 weeks of playing, I feel like I've been playing it longer than 2 weeks, but at the 2 week mark, I finally felt like I understood how to make the perfect museum. So now I am autistically going through all the ones I'd already made, selling every building because it's all wrong. The visitor flow is all wrong. The toilet distribution, all wrong. And I just sold it, and my inventory became full of like several dozen exhibits and loads of displaced guests because I froze time and then did it and then had to build over their bodies. And as soon as I unpaused it, I knew they'd fly, like pop out. But I get a real anxiety seeing all of these like half-formed heads poking out the floor of my museum. And I'm like, I can't unpause it yet because I haven't put all the bones down. Today I went through the aquarium to make it more perfect and spent an hour just to laying down stuff that I already had, just to get it exactly right. I fucking love this game. I absolutely love it. I made a space museum, and there's an entire race of cheese people, and the cheese moongers, because they come from a cheese moon. And there's a slug refinery, a cheese refinery where a space slug comes out of it and you give it cheese and then it makes eye contact with you before shitting. And it shits out a refined piece of like perfectly cut triangular cheese that the guests eat. There are space frogs, because this game was made for me. There are space frogs with space exhibits. And I said the joke on Jimquisition, and I said it on livestream the other day, and I'm going to say it now. X-Ribbits, one of the best jokes I've ever come up with.
I do think it might be your greatest. I am a big fan of X-Ribbits.
I was dining all day on Laura liked it. I was delighted when you said you'd liked it. Thank you. Yeah, the 2 Point people were apparently I made their day with the video and that. Like the director and everything was all like super pleased with it, which is nice. I said it when the folks who did Still Wakes the Deep were all really sort of appreciative of my criticism and that. contrary to what some people might tell you, I get no joy from upsetting game developers and stuff.
Yeah.
And few things in this job makes me as happy as being able to beam about a game that gave me a lot of joy and entertainment, and then the people responsible for that game seeing it and feeling good about it and feeling accomplished. Like I said to them, like that game made me really happy, so I am more than happy to return that and have that like nice bit of positive, that little loop of positive feedback. That's what we want. And yeah, I reiterate what I said in the Jimquisition. The value prospect of this is phenomenal. $30, and I still have things I could be doing, like things I can get for my museum, like exhibits I haven't got yet. Not many now, but I think because I got so distracted from aquariums, there are sea monsters, and I haven't even encountered one yet. I think it might be the last thing I got to do, because every single one of those, I think I said 6, it's 5 museum themes, between your marine stuff, your prehistory, all of that. It's not just that they all have their own gameplay quirks, like, the science themes being a crafting system that's just self-contained to that. There's just a richness of things to exhibit and stuff like it's. I will stop now because I know I've talked about this game several times, but I cannot emphasize enough what amazing value it is and how wonderful it is to see a passion project in the mainstream space that has clearly been allowed. Like, I've criticized Sega a lot over the years, but it feels like they just said to them, do what you want. We'll let you get on with it, and we trust you to do that. And I think it absolutely tells that, yes, these games are made by people who worked on Theme Hospital and desperately wanted to keep going. And now they get to do it. And they're allowed off the leash to do it. And the result is impeccable value. Yeah, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So, back to my I played too many games this week list.
The cavalcade.
One of them that I can talk about pretty quickly. I played through Bokura Planet this weekend.
I've heard that name.
Yeah, you've played the original Bokura, Comrade, haven't you?
I have, yes.
Yeah, so the original Bokura is like a 4 to 5 hour long co-op game where you are solving puzzles that require communication between 2 players because you are seeing fundamentally different versions of the world. You're a couple of kids, you were climbing a hill and you saw a dead deer, and now one of you is seeing the world as distinctly fleshy, and one is seeing it as distinctly mechanical, and you have a language divide to overcome in order to solve co-op puzzles. Bokura Planet had a demo out a couple of weeks ago that was like a standalone, separate from the story of the main game. Very much enjoyed that. It was like a little 45-minute experience. The main Bokura Planet is now out, and in a lot of ways, it's very easy to recommend for many of the same reasons I found the original Bokura easy to recommend. It really manages to nail the kind of experience that you can comfortably complete in maybe one sitting, in sort of 4 to 5 hours, where you will finish it and have a lot of stuff to talk about because you had such different experiences. There are some ways that I think this game is different, and that it's not necessarily got all the same strengths and weaknesses as the original Bokura did. Most notably, one of the most striking things about the first Bokura is that very quickly your experiences of the world visually diverge and you are seeing fundamentally different lenses on that world. That mechanic is not a thing in Bokura Planet, to my understanding. You're not having that same mismatch of I'm seeing, I don't know, a teddy bear on the floor and you're seeing a sort of spring mattress and we've got to communicate that that's what's going on. Mechanically, it leans into new, different kinds of puzzles that do fulfill much the same communication back and forth sort of aspect. But I will say that, like, I finished Bokura Planet and didn't have that same instant desire to jump back in and see the other side of it, that knowing that there was a completely different art style I wasn't seeing kind of gave me with the first one. That being said, both Bokura and now Bokura Planet have this mechanic where sometimes your characters will separate for a moment and the game will tell you don't talk to the other player about what you see while you have your own unique cutscene over here. The narrative divergence is way more dramatic in Bokura Planet. When I finished the original Bokura, the conversations were like, oh, you had this context and I didn't have that context. Oh, I see why you were leaning this way or that way about a choice. There are two fundamentally different stories going on depending on the half of this game you are playing. And I don't think this is a negative. I think it's fascinating. Bokura Planet ended, and definitely one of us had more context for the ending than the other, as it was happening in real time. Both of us were baffled in the moment, until we had, like, our debrief and realized, like, oh, we've been experiencing different genres of story.
Huh.
And, like, the difference between, like, I don't even want to... I want to give an example that isn't the two genres that are going on here, but it's like the difference of realizing, like, oh, you've been on an Indiana Jones-style quest for the artifact, and I've been on, like, a personal quest of self-healing, and, like, those were fundamentally intertwined stories, but, like, could not have been more different in the moment what we thought we were doing. And I did very much enjoy that, even if not having that visual differences in the world, I do think, is something that, like, is gonna make the first Bokura an easier pitch to someone. My main real takeaway is, if you enjoyed Bokura, Bokura Planet is another dose of that same sort of collaborative storytelling, puzzle-solving gameplay. There is one thing I do really like specific to Bokura Planet, which is that there is a type of puzzle in this game where you and the other player are not inhabiting the same space, but they use a bunch of tricks to make you forget that over and over, and to make it really easy to forget you aren't actually interacting with each other. And that is one of my favourite, like, little mechanics a game has just, like, used for a minute and then put aside. There are some things in this game that are really unique and do justify jumping back in for another dose of that sort of co-op experience.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Other interesting stuff I've started playing this week. I started playing 100 Line Last Defense Academy. This is a game from the creator of Danganronpa, which, for anyone who's not played a Danganronpa, it's your sort of, a bunch of kids get locked in a school and told, hey, you gotta kill each other and not get caught, otherwise you're all gonna die. Here's a bunch of Saw-like scenarios we're throwing you in.
I only ever played the first one when it was new. Is that series worth keeping up with?
If you enjoyed the first one,
I liked it well enough.
I would say 2 and 3 are definitely worth playing.
I might do that.
Three in particular, like, does some really interesting narrative stuff I wouldn't have expected. 3 I thought was fantastic. But yeah, so this is a new game from the Danganronpa creator. The general concept is, you've been living your life in this protected, domed city in Japan, where, like, every now and then sirens go off and you have to go hide in the bunkers, and it's not really explained to you why, but largely you can just get on living your life day to day, doing your own thing. Just occasionally the sirens blare and you gotta go hide in the bunkers, and then you get back to your little mundane life. You are playing as one of a group of about 12 kids who has been basically kidnapped from this mundane, if a little under the threat of danger, life, and chucked in a school, and it feels a bit Danganronpa at first, and the game knows it feels Danganronpa. There is a character who is convinced any moment you're going to get put into a Danganronpa-style killing game, and is, like, very directly going, like, okay, when's the bit where you tell us we all have to murder each other? Is this all preamble to that? But no, instead what you're there for is, this bunch of kids are basically given blood-based superpowers and told, the world is being attacked by essentially alien invaders, and that is what those sirens that keep going off are to do with. And for the next 100 days, you have to defend this school because there is something here that the invaders want badly enough that they will keep coming to fight for it. We're not going to tell you what it is. The days that they are not invading, you can have your downtime, you can socialize with each other, you can try and work out what the mystery going on here is if you like. But fundamentally, all we're asking of you, kids we've kidnapped, is for 100 days, whenever the alarm goes off, go fight the alien invaders with your blood magic superpowers. And at the end of 100 days, we'll just let you go. And, like, it's sort of vague at first, like, does that mean by the end of 100 days the problem will be solved? Does it mean, like, every 100 days they return the kids and get another batch of kids, it's their turn now? There's clearly some shady stuff going on. But where something like Danganronpa is very text-based, and when it has gameplay, that gameplay is, like, very threadbare. Like, oh, you're shooting letters to spell a word in the detective section, or some of the Danganronpa games, it's like, you're trying to solve the mystery by doing cyber surfboarding in your mind, or whatever. Here there is an actual gameplay mechanic that is pretty frequently there to break up the conversation stuff. And that is a top-down, turn-based RTS strategy game. It is a, like, Fire Emblem-style top-down strategy RPG where you are fighting off waves of enemies approaching you. And the top-down strategy stuff is really enjoyable. It's very simple, like, you have a very small map. It is the area approaching the school, and you are basically trying to stop waves of enemies that are... Basically, they're just trying to walk toward the school. If they get close enough, they'll deal damage. You'll try to take these waves of enemies out faster than they can approach. All of your little characters from the school have different abilities and strengths and weaknesses, be it different patterns in which they can attack. One of them has a motorcycle, and if you stick him in the middle of a bunch of enemies, he'll do low-level damage to everything surrounding him. One of them does, like, big damage to just a single enemy. And all of this feels very good. It's just like an interesting strategy RPG. The bit where it gets interesting is how its mechanics around death incentivize aggressive play. Because usually if you play something like a Fire Emblem, they want you to lean into playing with, like, permadeath turned on, and, like, you're trying to, generally in a lot of these kind of games, keep your characters alive no matter what. Here, there is a sci-fi conceit that is essentially, because of these weird blood magic superpowers we've given you, if you die while on the school grounds, we'll scoop you up in a coffin and we'll put you back together and you'll be fine once this fight is over. And as such, they give you a bunch of combat mechanics that are centered around deliberately playing at low health or dying. So if your character is at 5 HP, one of your characters is at 5 HP or less, you can get them to do a really powerful move that will kill them, but will do huge damage to a much bigger area of the battlefield than usual, and will power up your remaining characters on the battlefield because they've just watched one of their comrades die. You'll have, like, a buff you can apply to someone else who didn't die to allow them to play a bit more aggressively. And everyone who's died comes back at the end of, like, each wave of combat. So you are really encouraged to use, like, deliberately getting to low but not dead health so that you can essentially suicide bomb a wave of enemies to get yourself a little free bonus that you can equip to a character. It says, like, oh, that character that stayed alive, they now do 1 extra damage on all of their attacks. Cool. Someone else died, they did a big blast of damage as they did. I can give another character, I don't know, an extra movement even though they're exhausted. It's giving you really tangible rewards on top of the bonus you get for deliberately dying and being a character down, but your remaining characters are stronger now. And that really keeps up the pace and makes you not stress about the little details so much in the combat system. For a game that I came to because, like, I enjoyed the Danganronpa games and was kind of curious about the narrative stuff, I did not expect a weirdly aggressive and death-positive strategy RPG system to be such a recurrent part of the game, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not played their stuff since the first Danganronpa, and I liked it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I just dropped off a lot of like games in that genre. But yeah, every now and then I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should replay the first one and then check out the others.
I think I have all 3 in my Steam library and have for years. And it's one of those, like, oh, I'll get to that eventually games, because I know that they're good and I'd like to check them out, and I just don't. I don't know what's up with me there.
Yeah, they can sometimes be a little slow and exposition heavy at the start, like getting into them, but I think there are some very interesting murder mystery storytelling in them. Yeah, other ones I can quickly dip through. I played the second half of Lost Tapes, Bloom and Rage, which was that Don't Nod developed choose your own adventure game that I talked about a couple of months ago, that was part 16-year-olds, queer 16-year-olds starting a punk band together, and part, oh god, you're fucking with every supernatural trope you're not supposed to, this is gonna go really bad for you. Stop singing a song that's clearly a curse while in a ring of mushrooms while doing a blood exchange and sacrificing things to a mysterious portal. The second half of that has come out now. I really love that game overall, now that both halves of it are out. I think that maybe the smartest thing it does is, by having a framing device of you are adults in your 40s reminiscing on your teenage years, allows critical outside perspective on stupid teenage behavior in a way that allows the teenage characters you're playing as to feel like teenagers, but to get rid of some of that, oh my god, this is, yeah, no, that is how teenagers are, but I'm so frustrated at you. It's so nice to occasionally just hear an adult version of a character in their 40s be like, yeah, no, in hindsight, I recognize that was fucking stupid, but here we are. My biggest issue with it is that at the very last minute, it starts to try and tease a sequel. It's not even that so much, because, like, I'm not opposed to spending more time with these characters in this world, but so much of the second half of this story is about acceptance and moving on and being at peace with conclusion, that to at the last minute sort of try and make it a sequel tease feels at odds with what the game was trying to communicate. Not enough that it ruins the experience, but enough that it felt like a really cheap last moment to end on.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got mega far, because, I forget which game came out, but there was one where it's like, right, this one is a bit of a priority because it's my wheelhouse and audience and etc.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I drop off a game that I might cover in order to do one I definitely will, I just ADHD out of it, you know.
I
go back
1,000% understand, yeah.
Maybe I'll try and eke out some time, because I was enjoying it.
I do think it's very well written, and I think that, like, I would say it is the best character writing that Don't Nod have done. It shows a lot of growth in the way that they write teenage characters compared to, like, you know, The First Life is Strange. They've come a long way, and I think this is a really worthwhile story, even if, like, the last 5 minutes feel like they cheapen what they were otherwise doing just, like, a little bit. I've got one more to recommend that's, like, a really weird recommendation. I've left it till last because I don't know how to talk about this one. I started playing a game called Ina Dream Barbecue.
I love the name. I don't even know what it's about. I love the name.
It is, in spirit, a point-and-click adventure game, but in practicality, a first-person exploration take on a point-and-click adventure. You play as Ina, a woman who, as best I can tell, she's got an objective, and that objective is go find the boss. And in order to do that, you've got a whole spaghetti thread of well, to do that, you're going to need that, and to do that, you're going to need that. In that point-and-click adventure way of what seems like it should be a simple task is going to spiral into a billion NPCs that have things they want along the way. The thing that got my attention is this game's audio and visual presentation feels like someone watched the old CDI Zelda game animated cutscenes, but was also very into, like, Tim and Eric sketches.
Oh.
And I don't know how better to explain it than that.
I know that's turned a lot of people off. I've got to say, you're selling me.
Yeah, it is a point-and-click adventure game at heart in that it is a lot of literally every character you talk to exists to be a wacky character like one of those CDI Zelda characters, tell you that thing they need and what they'll give you to be part of the string of stuff you're going to be doing in this point-and-click adventure. And, like, fundamentally, for me, the reason to be playing this is to interact with the batshit series of characters that exist in this world. The point-and-click thread of stuff you're having to find to progress is a functional excuse for you to interact with all these weird characters. And I love how they are performed and written. I don't know how to explain them to anyone. One thing I do think is interesting about it is, one of my biggest criticisms usually of point-and-click adventure games is the idea of moon logic. Sometimes you have to use a thing on a thing to progress, and the two things you're combining, no one would ever fucking think to combine them. The way that this game gets around that problem is by being very direct to you about leaning into the humor of directly telling you the weird combination you need and why you need it. The best example of this I can think of from early on is a chain of 3 activities that is, this guy's lost his kids, go follow the trails of blood, you'll find them, bring them back to him. He will give you money. You can spend that money with the talking, living gacha machine, who will sell you mayonnaise. The mayonnaise description is very clear. You could spread this on someone's eyes and they wouldn't be able to see very well anymore. There is someone who is complaining that a child won't stop staring at him from atop a building. It is pointed out if only there was some way to obscure his vision somehow. And the mayonnaise is very clear. This would go great spreading it on someone's eyes to stop them seeing. It is moon logic, but the game is leaning into the characterization and the silliness to go, yeah, we told you the answer, but it's not about finding the answer, it's about going on the quest of all these weird characters to get there. I don't know how better to explain it. I think I'm having a great time with this game, but anytime I try and explain what it is, I struggle. I was playing this, like, last night, and I've yet to do the bit where I sit and work out how to properly put words to it. The first hour and a half of the game is available for free on Steam, with more of it coming as, like, paid content down the line. If the description I have given has you interested, go check out the free hour and a half that is out there currently. Because within 2 or 3 minutes, you'll get what this game is doing in a way that I can't do justice, because if I try and explain any of it too directly, it's not gonna work, me trying to explain what it is. You're gonna have to just submerge yourself in it for a minute or two and go, yeah, no, I see what you mean. I am fascinated by it. It's weird and hard to explain.
It sounds weird, but I'm definitely intrigued by that kind of it, because I do hate moon logic, but it's a love hate, because the absurdity in moon logic, there's a certain appeal to it, but I don't want to deal with the frustration aspect of, like, trying to get there. And so the idea of them, like, putting it right in your face that, hey, this is nonsensical, but we're telling you the way in which that nonsensical element exists.
The nonsensical nature is there to be enjoyed rather than to be a barrier to progression.
Yeah.
And I wish that was more frequently a way point-and-click adventures looked at that kind of inclusion.
Well, they're not trying to sell strategy guides anymore.
No, exactly. So yeah, that's the bulk of what I've been playing this week.
I have to scoot.
You got to scoot?
I agreed to do an interview thing and
Ooh.
badly did my schedule. It's just a little thing. Badly scheduled and just found out they want video. I'm in no state.
No worries, run away.
I'm gonna
go do your thing.
Bye everyone. I love you all. Quantum Witch out June 24th, and date everything out before then. Bye.
June 17th.
June 17th. Thank you, Laura. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Other than that, like the only other thing I'll very quickly talk about is I played some of the DLCs that got released for Dave the Diver. Both the Dredge and the Yakuza DLC. And my opinion on both of them is very faithful, loving adaptation that fits those series mechanics into Dave the Diver in a way that feels very at home. As someone who's completed Dave the Diver, and, like, is in the post-game, I don't know how much value there is for me in either of these DLCs, in that it sort of requires me to play an end game I was done with to wait for more of the DLC content to come up. If you were playing Dave the Diver for the first time and enjoying it, and like 50% of the way in and confident you were going to play it through, that would be the perfect time to pick up either of these DLCs if you like the things they're based on. The pacing of the new content is not necessarily conducive to jumping back in after a long gap and playing more of the game to wait for the DLC's random events to randomly pop up. But, for praise, the Dredge DLC sure does have you on the surface driving a boat round at night, being all spooky, collecting spooky fish for weird robed men. The Yakuza DLC definitely became a side-scrolling beat-em-up for a while, and also incorporated karaoke mechanics, and did so very, very well. Both of them I had a good time with, and am honestly probably going to forget I played either of those DLCs very quickly. But yeah, we got time for a couple of little newsy bits before we finish.
Yeah, let's do a couple quick ones.
So this one is interesting for reasons that are not included in the article I link to you, but last year there was a huge leak of Pokémon data, referred to by some as the Terra leak. This included a bunch of beta builds of games, of images of unreleased Pokémon designs, internal emails between Pokémon Company staff. Like, this is why we know emails revealed things like the reason we never got a flying type evolution Eevee is because there was a fan design that got too popular and Nintendo was worried they would get accused of ripping it off. Really interesting insights into, like, cancelled or in development projects. But at the time, the person who leaked this information said, hey, I also got my hands on the source code for several of the Switch-era Pokémon games, which would make it very easy to port them to PC, and the source code for an in-development build of the Generation 10 Pokémon games, the next main series Pokémon entries that probably won't be out till 2026. Those were also in there. I'm not putting that shit out. I recognize how detrimental to the Pokémon Company that being out there could be. But if anyone ever tries to come for me and find out who I am and, like, legally snoop after who dropped all this info, gloves are off, was essentially their response. Now we have heard that Nintendo has filed a request to subpoena Discord for information on who the culprit that shared that info was. So I'm sharing this story purely because we might, in the coming week or so, find out whether this person was bluffing or not. Because they sure did imply that they would be willing to release an in-development PC-playable build of a Pokemon game more than a year from release if anyone tried to find out who he was.
Well,
And that's just fascinating to me. That's Nintendo calling a bluff for sure.
yeah, that's a bold move, Cotton. I mean, I feel like it is a bluff you can call, right? Because if you're gonna do that, if you take that step to find their identity, and then the person who goes, who has already committed the crime goes and commits an even bigger crime in response, yeah, I don't know. It seems like a dumb move, but what do I know?
I mean, it seems like a dumb move, but sometimes you gotta play the card you've got if you fear they're gonna sniff after you, is to threaten, hello, I have a nuke button, I could press it.
Yeah.
One other bit of news, and this is an accessibility-related thing, but a thing I'm really excited to see, and I want to enthuse about a little bit. So, for a while now, PlayStation and Xbox's console stores have had accessibility store tags on them, where these are optional for developers to engage with, but you can list on a game's store page which of a list of common accessibility features that game has available for it. So that disabled players can, at a glance, go, oh cool, this game has the features I need to be able to play it. And we seem to be moving toward the era where Nintendo, with the Switch 2, might be getting on board with this as well. Like a month or so back, they joined a group called the Accessible Games Initiative, basically working with a bunch of other AAA companies to go, we should probably standardize accessibility store tag descriptions and requirements, which seems like a big step toward Nintendo getting on board with doing these on their store as well. The news today is that Steam is rolling out a similar feature. Steam is soon going to support accessibility tag information on Steam as a storefront. This is available now to developers on the developer backend. It's not going to be public-facing till later this year for consumers. But they've basically got this really good, well-thought-through questionnaire that goes, hey, here is an explanation of an accessibility feature like narrated game menus. Here is an explanation of what narrated game menus functionally means and what you need to do to say you have support for this feature, so you understand what this feature is before you say yes or no. Does your game support this? Yes or no? And going through this sort of accessibility feature wizard of explaining in depth what an accessibility feature means and what it means to support the feature, with enough information that a developer can sort of self-select which ones they do or don't support, with the idea being that you will be able to, in the future, search Steam narrowed down by accessibility features you need. Only show me games that have the ability to save any time, or adjustable difficulty, subtitle options, narrated game menus, the ability to be played without timed input. And this is really damn cool. This is a thing that I have been saying for a long time needs to be a standard, like, industry-wide. It means that people at the point of purchase don't have to worry about, oh, if I buy this game, is it going to be unplayable for me? And have to stress about trying to get it returned within a refund window. That's just a really positive step forward for the industry happening. And I wanted to just celebrate that a little bit.
I think that's great. It's so nice to finally see these things becoming standards on all the platforms.
Yeah.
It's a slow, long rollout, and there's going to be bumps along the way, but it is actually happening, and that's just nice to see progress. And from such a major player, yeah, it's everything.
We are starting to get examples of, we can point at things in accessibility and go, that's a standard now. There's like the accessibility store tags, the fact that all three of the major consoles out have a dedicated accessibility controller available for them. Things that, like, even just a few years ago felt like they were a long way from the industry coming together on. Really great to see.
Yep, it's great.
Yeah. So there we go. That's all of it.
Good for us.
That's all the stuff.
We did a show, and now that we've done this, people are going to need something to fill the void, Laura. And as I understand it, you have many things with which one can fill a void. Where would they find that?
I do have many things you could fill a void with. You can find those at Laura K. Buzz pretty much everywhere. Laura K. Buzz on Blue Sky, on Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills, Twitch, YouTube, just Laura K. Buzz. The big one I'll have going up this week is there is a nearly 2-hour-long episode of Control-Alt-Access that's going live the same day as this episode of Podquisition, it should be. Me and Arevia got to record Control-Alt-Access in person together because we were both at GA-Conf last week. We condensed 16 hours of talks about accessibility into a 2-hour recap of, hey, do you want the highlight notes and recommendations of which talks you should go look for and watch in full yourself if you're interested? Here is 2 hours of us summarizing a 2-day accessibility conference. And we got to do that in person, so go check that out. That was a lot of fun. What about you, Conrad? Where are you out on the internet?
Oh, you could find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. I'm on Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays, playing stuff, mostly Spelunky these days still, but, you know, I mix it up, and my wife Linda comes on Monday nights and plays horror stuff. She's still doing Look Outside, and that is still quite the game. You buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything that I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And Laura, you know who else has a Patreon?
Who?
Stephanie Sterling. That's patreon.com/Jimquisition. You can also find her at Commander Sterling on Instagram and Blue Sky. She's also on Twitch at irregular times, but doing that. That's Jim Sterling on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Jim Sterling. Games coming out, date, everything. Releases June 17th. Steph wrote some of that. Quantum Witch is out June 24th. Steph wrote some of that. Go check those out. Wishlist them. Whatever it is you do. And as I understand it, some wrestling dates are forthcoming, but not confirmed yet. So keep an ear out for that. And I think that's us for the week, right? Yeah? We good?
I reckon so. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.